Added to Steam on November 14, 2023, this game grabbed my attention instantly. Developed by Team Cloud Inc., famous for absolutely nothing, Ill is described as a realistic first-person action survival horror game. You're dropped into a sinister research settlement with one goal: uncover the twisted truth behind its descent into blood-soaked madness. While the visuals clearly draw inspiration from The Thing, the team has mentioned that video games were a huge influence as well. They're big fans of the Resident Evil series, especially Resident Evil 7, for its atmosphere and how genuinely scary it felt. One of their core inspirations is Half-Life 2, mainly because of its physics-based gameplay. For more psychological and terrifying elements, they look to the early Silent Hill games and, of course, Hideo Kojima's playable teaser.
The fuck? C'est... Tu veux... Nope.
Up until about a week ago, Ill was basically a myth. Yeah, it was announced, and sure there were some videos floating around, but barely any gameplay. Almost everything shown focused on atmosphere, darkness, unease, and to be fair, it nailed it. The look, the mood, the tone. Fucking incredible. But now, they've finally revealed more. The previously barren Steam page is filled with actual info. A horror story set in what looks like a research facility gone to hell. Gore, dismemberment, enemies that react to the environment and behave unpredictably. It all looks amazing. Yet, despite all the hype it managed to generate, the game stayed in some sort of strange, uncertain limbo for a long time. Even though the game eventually landed on Steam in 2023, it had been announced years earlier, building hype off a trailer that looked so grim, so horrific, it grabbed everyone's attention. This video has hit YouTube on January 14th, 2021. While it wasn't the first time Ill was shown, another teaser had dropped just 3 days earlier, this was the first time people really saw what the project was aiming for, what it looked like, and that the team was actively looking for funding to bring it to life. People were amazed, but also skeptical. How could a game that looked this polished still need money? It looked like it was already deep into production. The video description did mention they'd be posting more proof-of-concept videos in the future, but this one didn't say it was a concept. Fortunately, people wouldn't have to wait long to get answers. This video you see here had hit YouTube on February 2nd, 2021. It was labeled a concept trailer and promised a lot. Hardcore gameplay, real-time body mesh damage, interactive environments, and a deep yet simple story. It looked incredible, but people were quick to notice this small mention that it was all rendered in real time using Unreal Engine and not actual gameplay footage, and that the game wasn't in full development. Of course, it was disappointing to learn that the game didn't actually exist yet. The concept was there, but nothing had really been set in motion. They were still working on building a demo and actively looking for a publisher or investors. Still, for me, it worked. Sure, it was just a proof of concept, but it looked raw, grounded, nasty, and it felt real. But of course, a pre-rendered trailer doesn't mean shit. People wanted actual gameplay, but at that point, all they had to show was a concept. No gameplay, no proof the game even existed beyond a trailer. Their Patreon launched soon after, introducing the team just 4 people, which is kind of insane, especially considering how polished that first trailer looked. Sure, it was pre-rendered, but it still reflected their vision, and for a team that small, it looked like a massive undertaking. Yet again, no doubt about it, seriously impressive if they managed to pull this off. Digging into their Instagram pages, you can see they'd been toying with this idea long before 2021. Sketches, tests, creature animations, all of it scream horror obsession. They clearly love this stuff. They even mentioned working with known filmmakers and contributing to projects like Longlegs and Welcome to Derry. Some posts from as far back as 2020 show early animation tests for creature design, horror scenes, and even some gameplay experiments with animation and coding. While it's not clear if any of it was directly tied to ill, it showed they were testing ideas, doing research, and most importantly, it showed just how devoted they were about horror and game development. Unfortunately, most people never saw any of that. If you weren't part of their Patreon, the trailer was pretty much all you knew. Still, looking at it now, there wasn't much doubt these guys were talented, and they were passionate, and that was good news. But then, the hype started to fade as there were no real follow-ups, no major updates outside of the occasional Patreon post. They shared some models and assets used in the trailer, mostly just to reassure people that they were still active. The topic of finding a partner kept coming up and the demo was always in progress, but it kept getting pushed back. So honestly, if you weren't subscribed to their channel or following them on Twitter, chances are you just forgot the trailer ever existed. Then on July 14th, 2021, they finally announced something big. They had secured funding and found a partner. That was huge. Not only did they claim the game was still happening, but more importantly, it meant they were officially working full-time on development. By November, the team had expanded to 8 people, with several freelancers contributing remotely. The project was also shifting to Unreal Engine 5, which brought some complications, sure, but nothing they said would seriously slow down development. Then in February 2022, they put out a quick update to reassure fans. They explained the game was still doing well despite the war in Ukraine, which complicated development since the team was based in Russia with outsourced work in Ukraine. They claimed it hadn't impacted progress much, but things were clearly getting more complicated. On June 11th, 2022, another trailer dropped at the Future Games Show. And it blew up. This time we got some actual monster designs, and the horror looked straight out of The Thing or Dead Space. But once again, most of the trailer was cinematic, only about a minute of it showed in-game footage. And even then, nothing was happening. Just walking, no combat, no mechanics, just a really good-looking hallway.
I made my way in.
Still, it was something, a small sign that the game was alive. Some people even started throwing around possible release dates for 2023. At this point, while the Patreon continued to get the occasional update, their Twitter activity stopped entirely after their June 11 post. From here on, even Patreon updates started to slow down, and I believe was at this point that people really started to feel some sort of uncertainty creeping in. In October, 5 months after their last communication, the team released a statement apologizing for the silence. They explained that complications had slowed things down and that global events weren't helping. Some team members were dealing with personal emergencies. Fair. Understandable. And to their credit, they reassured everyone that development was still active. They were prototyping gameplay mechanics, just not ready to show anything yet. Another 4 months passed. They posted small updates here and there, showing what they were working on, but nothing felt truly substantial. Doubt kept rising. Sure, they were saying development was going well and sharing occasional proof-of-concept clips or early animations, but for many people, it wasn't enough. These weren't playable demos or proper in-game footage, just bits and pieces that didn't mean much to anyone waiting for something tangible. Then, in January 2023, another update dropped. This one quietly admitted that a gameplay demo might not be coming anytime soon. No surprise, people were pissed. A demo was the #1 thing fans kept asking for. Not just out of curiosity, but because they wanted some kind of proof that this game was real and not just a bunch of fancy cinematics stitched together. They explained that releasing a demo for a project of this scale was a massive commitment. And while they weren't ruling it out, they also weren't promising it. Instead, they said they were re-evaluating their marketing strategy. Then came June 30th, 2023. Ill was finally listed on Steam, the dreaded release to be announced. That alone got people excited again. Maybe the wait was almost over. Maybe it was finally happening. They also mentioned that the team was expanding and moving to a new office. Things were supposedly moving forward. But then, nothing. 2023 rolled into 2024. The lack of updates started raising real questions. Was this game actually being made, or was this just a highly polished illusion? The devs addressed it. Sort of. They responded to growing suspicion with a post trying to calm things down. They said the team had grown to over 25 people and was still hiring. They swore the game was real. If we weren't developing the game, they said, we would have announced it a long time ago. They acknowledged the frustration, especially for people supporting them through Patreon, seeing little to no updates. They admitted they chose a crowdfunding model early on, but now we're shifting toward a more traditional approach. Because of that, they said everything was under NDA, that even sharing small bits on Patreon could spoil parts of the story. And honestly, that might have been a fair explanation, if they hadn't been saying some version of it for years. By this point, for a lot of people, those reassurances started to feel hollow. Promises of trailers, updates, or demos had come and gone so many times that trust began to crack. Each new update only brought more uncertainty, highlighting supposed progress without ever showing the game in action. Sometimes they'd tease new features or mention having a new partner, but couldn't reveal who it was. Then, just a few weeks ago, a new trailer dropped. This time, finally, some actual combat. Well, sort of. It looked like actual gameplay, but of course, still no release date. And now, another full trailer dropped again. Damn. It looks fantastic. What stands out to me is how closely it matches the vision they showed years ago. Not only did it finally give us a proper look at gameplay, but it also revealed more story elements and a bunch of new monsters. Everything looks gross, nasty, disgusting, and honestly, it's seriously promising. And the fear that this game might never release? Yeah, that's out the window now. It was officially revealed through PlayStation, IGN, and even the Steam page was updated with new info. And to seal the deal, they finally revealed the name of that mysterious partner, Montfish, the team behind Atomic Heart. That announcement landed well. Atomic Heart was a well-received game, and after all, this partnership is what helped push ill out of the passion project category and into full-on production territory. So, the new question is, will it actually be good? Because yeah, knowing a game exists doesn't mean much anymore. That doesn't tell you if it'll run well or if it's going to launch filled with bugs, crashes, or broken systems. But really, just knowing this game is real, that's already a win. The atmosphere, the tone, it's too damn good not to be excited about. That said, I'm not blindly jumping into hype. Not after all the trash we've been fed over the years. I need more than trailers. I want a full gameplay demo before I trust it. Still, no question, this is the game I'm looking forward to the most right now.